Welcome to the Whiskey and Wisdom Podcast, coming to you from the Cargo District Recording Studios in Wilmington, North Carolina, where we discuss the most fascinating topics of life. I'm Tyler Yaw with my co-host, Chris Kellum, and each week we interview a special guest to learn how they acquired their wisdom over a glass of whiskey. So, sit back, pour yourself a glass, and enjoy Whiskey and Wisdom.
Welcome back, everybody. I am Chris Kellum with my constant co-host,
Tyler Yaw.
And this week, we bring on a winner of one of our giveaways, Miss
Alex Richardson.
And we just wanted to thank you guys for listening to us. And Alex didn't have a choice, but we chose to bring on some Johnny Walker Green Label for us to sip on. This is supposedly the best bang for your buck when it comes to Johnny Walker.
From the whiskey connoisseur himself, Ryan Payne, will tag you. Taught Dennis everything he knows about whiskey at Rounds Lido's over there and made for a town center.
Yep. So if you didn't know, Green Label is a blended whiskey from Scotland, and it actually is blended of 4 different single malts. If you don't know what a single malt is, join the club. But they get 4 different single malt whiskeys from around Scotland. I am horrible and don't speak Scottish. So it's Talisker, Linkwood, Cragganmore, and it looks like Caol. Caol space ILA.
I could put a Spanish twist on it.
Yeah.
Cool. Anyways, but it is aged 15 years, so it's kind of cool. Something a little bit different. Has a very nice classic color.
Mm-hmm.
But let's have a sip.
Cheers.
Cheers. I feel like I need to do Anthony's way of sipping.
Yeah, I have to sniff. And yeah, that's pretty good. That's the first time that I've actually had Green Label.
Ooh, that's smooth.
That is really smooth.
Mm-hmm. I would say it is a good bang for your buck. The Blue Label still definitely beats it out, but I'm not sure if it beats it out 3 times the price.
And this one definitely has more earthy aromas. Mm-hmm. It says it's supposed to be garden, fruits, married with florals. You kind of smell it's a little bit lighter scent. You're supposed to taste some rich wood notes with oak and cedar. And it has obviously a smoky, peated finish.
I just tried to do the under the tongue hold.
Yeah.
That burns you out.
Yes, it does.
That burns you out.
When I did that the first time, I was like, whoa, I've never experienced whiskey like this before.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
What do you think?
It's good. It is smooth. I'm tasting a lot of things. I wish I could tell you what I was tasting.
That's what. So when you start getting into whiskeys more, because I know we talked about this prior to the podcast, the more you start picking up flavors in different whiskeys, the more that you can start pinpointing the notes that you have. And then also, like if you've never had figgy pudding before, you won't taste the figgy pudding note.
For sure.
No. I'm still trying to figure out what figgy pudding is. But the real thing is, introduce yourself, Alex.
All right. So I am Alex Richardson. I was born and raised in Wilmington, which is awesome. I'm so happy to be home.
Mm-hmm.
I left for 9 years, was in Virginia, met my husband, and moved back here. Happy to raise a family at the beach.
Yeah.
I'm a wife, a mom, a nonprofit founder and executive director, high school Spanish teacher, online, and hemp wellness advocate. So I got my hands in a lot of things.
Yeah.
I got to ask you to start with, what is a nonprofit?
That's a great question. So a 501c3 nonprofit is a charitable organization. The majority of the funds are fundraised, and then the majority should be going back into your programs for the people you're serving. So for us specifically, we work with women in early postpartum. So that really 0 to 6 months after having a baby is where we focus our time. And then we also invite some pregnant women along in what we're doing as well. So it's really been such a fun adventure. I never saw myself being a nonprofit director. I never saw myself being really a founder or like a business owner. Mm-hmm. I think being married to an entrepreneur kind of did that to me, but it has been a really, really fun ride. I originally was a high school Spanish teacher and pictured myself doing that until I was old, an old lady teacher in my classroom. But life has other plans,
Certainly. So how did the nonprofit start? Like what kind of got you into it?
So I had been teaching for 8 years. I was in Virginia for 5, taught here at Laney for 3 years.
What?
Yeah. I really loved my experience at Laney. I graduated from Ashley. All my friends were from Hoggard. So Laney, I didn't even know that end of town until I moved back to Wilmington and really enjoyed being there. But then I had my daughter in 2019, and it's just a tough transition into motherhood. And she was not the easiest baby. It was a very lonely time. Even though I had family, I was the first of all my friends to have a baby. And my doctor, I went in at 6 weeks and she's like, oh, you're good to go.
Yeah.
And I had a 3rd-degree tear and I did not feel good to go.
Oh, no.
And fortunately, I love physical fitness and I had worked with a pelvic floor physical therapist while I was pregnant. So I knew out of my own just knowledge and experience to go see her. And she took one look at me and she's like, you are not good to go. And I'm like, why did my doctor not tell me about this resource that could help me so much? I would definitely not have a second kid,
Right.
if I did not go see her. And so that experience happened. And I was a little disappointed in our healthcare system and just kind of the care that I had postpartum. And then I had my son in 2021, and tough transition going from 1 to 2. Definitely felt like I struggled with some undiagnosed, probably postpartum anxiety with probably both of them. Yeah. And again, just got cleared 4 weeks postpartum. I wasn't told about any resources. Never once was I told about lactation support or postpartum doulas or really anything that really can serve women. And I was like, we got to do something. And so I sat on it over the summer and I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a nonprofit. I had never done nonprofit. Like I had volunteered with nonprofits before, but that's like a 1-day thing. I had never sat on a board. But I was like, I think it'll be easy to fundraise, which is jokes on me, but it's okay. And I dove in. I did the paperwork and I got a board together with some people locally who I knew really cared about women. And we launched officially in January of this year. And really what we do is we do home visits. So anyone can sign up to get a home visit and they get a meal sponsored by Clean Eats and a nice little gift bag. And we go and we just sit for 30 to 45 minutes and just check in on mom. How are you doing? How's feeding going? How's sleeping going? Are you taking care of yourself? Is there anything you really need to feel supported? And then just connect her with those resources. So we're really trying to be a bridge between the mom and these other resources that maybe the doctors aren't sharing about.
You don't want to be the one who's like, oh, hey, you can find resources. Goodbye.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been nice, and it's been really fun connecting with different providers locally and really being able to be that bridge. And then we also have new mama meetups for those who are pregnant to 6 months postpartum, which Tyler's wife has been to. And it's just so fun to get women together and just have a safe space for them to get out of the house. A lot of these women, it's the first time they leave the house by themselves with their baby, because just that alone is such an overwhelming thing. And to give them a safe space where there's going to be other moms and some food and drinks and it's going to be, very relaxed it's just been so incredible. So incredible.
It's amazing. There was never anything else like that out there, especially after having our first kid too. Just like they hand you the baby and you're like, good luck, have fun.
Oh my God.
And you're like, oh, okay. How's this going to happen?
I have to keep this thing alive.
Yeah. And after a couple weeks, typically like for myself, like dad gets to go back to work.
Yep.
And then mom's still with the baby going, okay, now I have to keep it alive by myself.
Yep.
And going through the whole process, I can just only imagine. And I'm sure there's a lot of undiagnosed postpartum anxiety.
Oh, for
and
sure.
especially not having that support system, because we were one of the first in our friend group too that had a baby. It's like, okay, who do we ask how this goes? Like you can talk to your parents, but it's not, it's different. And like you can get a lot of help and support from them, but just to be able to go to your peers and talk to them, I think makes a huge difference.
For sure. For sure. We had a mom last week who was coming. She's been coming to the meetup. She's from Brazil and her husband's American and she knows nobody here. She moved here during COVID, which is a lot of our moms. And she's like, this is the only outing that I do. Yeah. I know nothing else. And she's like, what you've done is everything I have. And it just blew me away, to be able to provide that is just such a huge honor,
Yeah, that's amazing.
Huge.
Good for you to have like the gumption and ability to stand up and say like, hey, like this is needed around here and going for it.
Like,
major props.
I feel like we all have things that we're innately passionate about. And I feel like we owe it to ourselves to chase those passions, but also to the people who can benefit from that, you know? And even if it's a Whiskey and Wisdom podcast, you know, and you're sharing camaraderie with people, someone could listen and it could like change their day or change their life, you know? And so I feel like not listening to that call would just be such a detriment, you know?
Yeah.
So my question, because I'm a person who likes those movies where they give you the sneak peek at the front end and then they are like, oh, let's show you how we got here. So how did we get here? You went to Ashley, unfortunately.
I won't disagree.
No, we had Sean on here over the summer and he went to Ashley too. And I still gave him smack for it. And I always laugh because I grew up. I'm from Rocky Point, so I shouldn't have gone to Laney, but I did. So I didn't know all the people in Ashley.
Yeah.
Did you end up going to school to be a teacher?
You know,
Or were you a teacher?
I knew from the time I was like a child that I was going to be a teacher. I have a younger brother and younger sister, and I would make my brother sit down and do school with me. And I was the teacher. And like every career day, I just like innately knew that I wanted to be a teacher, but I always thought I wanted to do elementary education. And then I got to school and I was working with Young Life, which is like a high school organization.
Yeah.
And I was volunteering and I really fell in love with the high school age group. And I also was looking at the major, and for elementary ed, you had to pick 2 focuses and take all these like high level classes. And for high school, you just had to pick 1 focus. And I was really torn between science and Spanish because I love science. I love the body. I could totally see myself doing like bio or kinesiology or something like that. And the Spanish, my dad's parents were missionaries. So he grew up in Bolivia for a while.
Oh, okay.
So I always had some like Spanish kids books and some stuff around the house. Like he didn't speak it with us growing up except for like numbers and, you know, colors and stuff. But I was like, Spanish will be easier. And so I just picked Spanish, not knowing I was going to have to live in Guatemala for 2 months.
Oh, wow.
And I like for a month lived with a Guatemalan family and had to like shower in rainwater outside of the house. Like it was a experience. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I'm happy to have this skill now because I feel like it's just opened so many doors. And teaching an elective is just way more fun than something that's going to have all the like core tests and stuff. So yeah, I kind of shifted directions in college and I'm so happy I did.
So wait, how'd you end up in Guatemala? We're not going to skip right past that.
It's like, this happened.
So I went to Liberty, which is a Christian university, and you have to do a study abroad program. My brother was a business international studies major at UNCW, also had to do a study abroad program. His was in Spain. So he literally partied for a whole semester in Spain while I was showering in rainwater in Guatemala because that's just where you went with Liberty's program. So like all the Americans would stay together on this kind of nice base for a month and do like service projects in different cities. And then you had to live with a Guatemalan family and nobody has running water. And, you know, it is really a life-changing experience, but I would do it again. I mean, I've gone back multiple times, but I'm a little jealous I couldn't go to Spain.
But I feel like it's a great thing. Like, let's be real. A lot of Americans assume that you're either really great off or really bad. And I feel like getting placed somewhere where you actually have to experience without having to be in a war zone officially is something that people should experience.
I think every person should have to go stay in a third world country and experience what it is like. Like as soon as my children are old enough to kind of grasp that a little bit, I will be taking them on service projects to third world countries because we just have it so good here. I mean, and I understand there is a lot of poverty. I understand there is a lot of homelessness, and I don't want to belittle that at all. But in general, this country has it so good. so good. So I do. I wish so many of my high school students, I'm like, I just wanted to shake them. Like, you have it so good. Go shower in rainwater and then complain.
Then come back.
Then complain.
So you went to Liberty. You met your hubby.
Yeah, but not at Liberty. So he was actually, I was 5 years into teaching when we met. He was in the military, got medically discharged because he blew off some of his fingers, which is a story for another time. I'll let him tell that someday. And
we have him scheduled to come on too.
Yeah. He's got a pretty good life story. And he was working at a gym that I was going to, and I spotted him and I was like, oh, he's cute. And kind of like creeped. He was running the gym's like Twitter account at the time, and I was like totally stalking him. But then I ended up dating this other guy that was just like a really bad relationship, but also really good for me to experience that bad relationship before dating him. And we ended up moving into the same apartment complex after I had that not so great relationship. And I noticed him walking his dog in the morning. So I timed leaving so that we could like say hey to each other in the morning. And at the time he was dating a girl long distance, and he like they would watch UFC fights. Like he's real big into MMA stuff. And he like invited me over to hang with all his friends and his girlfriend one weekend. And when I met her, I was like, oh, she's not going to last. And she didn't. They broke up like, I don't know, a month later. And then a month after that, he asked me out. And I mean, I don't know. I just knew from the get-go. I knew what I wanted.
So you were the reason.
I might have been the reason. He would never say that, I don't think.
I'm going to remember to ask you.
right. And Chris will remember too. Don't you worry.
I am a true elephant.
Yes.
I love that. I have a horrible memory. Horrible.
I'm with you. Yeah. Chris is my memory for the most part.
Yeah.
Between him and my wife, they keep me straight. So one of the things that I'm sure many people think of if they were to just jump onto your Instagram page and look at it, how does hemp and being a director of a nonprofit go together? Because me knowing you and knowing both of the worlds, mostly through my wife, I understand how there's really more of a correlation than not there. But can you explain?
Yeah. So I actually started with Green Compass, is a company that the founders are actually from Wilmington.
Yeah.
Wanted to have a really good organic CBD. They got it started in 2019 when I had my daughter. And I was, like I had said, so lonely. And I saw these girls were getting together every week and having coffee. And my husband had used CBD before for he doesn't say that he has PTSD, but he was struggling to go to sleep every single night. He has to fall asleep with the TV on, and he was doing like melatonin and NyQuil. And I was like, listen, will you just like try some CBD for some of those anxious thoughts and feelings and, to help you get to sleep? And he's like, sure, I'll try it. But he's really like not a natural kind of guy at all. And he's very like me, I'm all about medical marijuana, let's make it legal and help some people out. And he's like, I don't know. Like, whatever. But so anyway, got him on board with it, saw this company was launching, saw these girls. I was like, I need people to hang out with. So I was like, I'm just going to sign on and hang out with these girls. And it was just so life-changing to be a part of that community and also have a really high-quality product. Well, I've been doing it since 2019, and it's just kind of been a slow growth. And I've really just fallen in love with really learning natural methods to help yourself feel better. And, if people can get off pills, even better, just looking at holistic wellness. I've really just taken this deep dive into like the crunchy world. Yeah. It is dangerous, but then I've got all these moms who are struggling. And honestly, I really try to keep it separate because I do not ever want someone to think that I am trying to leverage my platform with fourth trimester mission and my moms to further my hemp wellness business.
Yeah.
I really try to keep that separate, and I don't ever try to like push anything on the moms in the program or, I really try to keep that separate, but it is such a helpful tool for women who are struggling postpartum to have a natural way to alleviate some of those anxious feelings, some of that stress, some of that sleep struggle. Because I know for me, I wasn't sleeping at all, and you can't take NyQuil because you're not going to wake up and hear your baby, and so you need something where you can be lucid, and CBD was really helpful with that. So I do try to keep it separate, but I also know it can be a very helpful tool
Yeah,
for
certainly.
really anyone, not just women in postpartum, but anyone.
Right. Yeah. That was something that I've always been on for a while too, is CBD. Like your husband, mixed martial arts, wrestler, all of that. So what comes with that is a lot of aching in joints and all of that stuff.
Yes.
And that has helped a lot with that. I also used to have really horrible migraines.
Oh, wow.
And was on daily medication from that. Was able to get off the daily medication just by taking CBD.
That's amazing.
So it's just incredible. And I can't speak highly enough of it too.
I love hearing stories like that.
Yeah, exactly. And anytime I can have someone else kind of share an experience with that as well too, I try to, because I think it is such a huge thing, especially like medical marijuana. I can't believe it took so long to finally get to where it is now, which is still isn't that far.
I know. We got a long way to go.
I can't believe it took that long. Really?
Well, I can, because I know how this world works, but it's mind blowing that anyone would keep it from getting here.
A patient cured is a customer lost.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
I have a lot of mutual friends that I do in that space too. So it's I like seeing it grow, especially in Wilmington.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll have more of those people on as well too, I'm sure, because there's some big people doing some big things.
Yeah. Sarah Ald
Yep.
with Upper. Oh, my gosh. I'm so excited for her platform.
Yeah, I'm excited about what she has going on too. We try to get her on the podcast as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I live in a bubble.
Chris is like, what are you talking about?
Well, I do and I don't, because I have a friend I met on deployment who started her own nonprofit, Hippie and Veteran, and she's totally into not just natural remedies, like, oh, everyone should smoke weed, but she's also into like just true natural things to help, whether it be microdosing or shrooms or just things that are better for you than drugs.
Yes.
Which is how I know why it's going to take so long to get weed legalized until they can figure out how to profit from it.
Can't you just tax the crap out of it and like make some money that way?
So there's actually an article on CNBC that I was just reading the other day, and they were doing a case study in California, and they were saying, why are everyone still going back to the drug dealers? And like, we have all these places that are legal. It's because it's way priced out of range. So like,
that makes sense.
you go get it from someone that just came across the border in Mexico and get it for like nothing, or you can pay 4 times as much because of how much it costs. And then also banks, you still can't, it's considered funding the drug trade.
Yes.
By having your money held at a bank if you are a, what are they called? Not distilleries.
Oh, dispensary.
Dispensaries. Yeah. So that's why there's ATM machines outside of the dispensaries that aren't owned by the dispensary.
Yeah, because my Wells Fargo account got closed down. And I don't even I'm like, there's less than $2,000 in this account, but because it was called Her Hempire LLC, they're like, this is a cannabis related industry. We're going to have to shut you down. And I was like, I'm going to go to another bank.
Right. And they're like, well,
yeah, not great. But I'll tell you what, I would not trust the drugs on the street these days. It is not the same as when I was in high school.
I was going to say, yeah, college is not the same anymore.
I mean, no.
I knew people, like back then, you knew every once in a while you would end up with something that was not right. But it was like few and far between.
Yes.
And it also usually wasn't something that would kill you.
That's what I was going to say.
You'd have a real bad trip though.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I had a friend who did shrooms one time, and apparently they stayed in like an old school apartment, and she was tripping and just saw the mold on the walls just slowly growing.
Oh my God.
And I was like, and this is why I can't do shrooms. Like I'm not trying to have one of those stories in my life.
No.
CBD's a different story.
Yes. Yeah, my friends did literally everything under the sun when we were in high school. I mean, everything, but it was just like not my jam. I was like a alcohol party girl, smoke a few times, I'm good. But yeah, I would not trust it these days. I would not trying to get loaded with fentanyl.
No,
Thank you.
Especially around here. You see it a lot too.
Nope.
So my random thought process, because we're talking about getting loaded.
Oh God.
What do you think about this alcohol?
It is really good. Like, it is really good.
Is it still as smooth now that you've had it a little bit longer?
I think so.
Okay.
Because we were talking to prior that you've had like some whiskeys before and then like a super expensive whiskey, but nothing kind of in between. So do you think this would be like a good thing to kind of have on a daily basis, kind of something?
I would take this and sip it nicely.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had Angel's Envy at our house, and that's not something I would just like sip nicely, you know? It's nice.
So what would you do with Angel's Envy then?
I don't know. My husband mixes it and
I would
I could see that.
does like a whiskey ginger or something, but I want it to be smooth.
Yes.
I really don't want like any burn.
Yeah.
So if that means I got to have something really expensive, I'll do it.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
How much was this one, Chris?
I bought it in South Carolina, so it was probably
True. Okay.
Is that cheaper or more expensive?
It's usually a little bit more expensive because it's not run by the state. So it doesn't have to be MSRP.
I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure Green Label is abundant enough that it's probably pretty darn close to MSRP though.
it was like $80 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I got to go like 75 and up for something I want to sip on.
Yeah, it was. This is actually really smooth. I like the Lagavulin. That just had a lot of flavor. But this, I feel like it's just a casual, like, you're sipping it, but you're not like.
Yeah. It's not going to burn it the whole way down.
Yep.
Let's put it under your tongue.
That's a burner. That's a burner. I know. I was jealous of last week. It sounded so good what y'all were trying. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't have a plug. I'm not like him. We haven't hit that point. Everyone's like, "Oh, you love whiskey?" I was like, "Yeah." What's your favorite? Well, I've only been drinking it for a year, so
It's hard too. Something else I was talking about with a few other whiskey or self-proclaimed whiskey connoisseurs. When you first start drinking whiskey, you don't really know what you're tasting.
Yes.
And so when I started the whiskey club over at Rounds, I was like, "Oh yeah, it's whiskey."
Yeah.
And now finally I know what I'm tasting. Like I feel like I need to redo it again to actually know if I like it or not. I won't because it's expensive, but
Yeah.
Well, maybe I can do the whiskey club at Rounds while Tommy hits balls because he loves golf and I could care less.
oh yeah, that'd be perfect then.
I know.
Totally do it.
Yep.
I'm down.
We'll get a group together.
I still have like 6 left on my first round.
You got a ways to go.
I do. Talking about a ways to go, even though you've just started, I feel like you've come a long way with your non-profit, but there's still a lot to do to like get connected with other moms and like get better known in the space, I guess.
Yeah. Right now, our population is really kind of middle class to upper middle class moms. And I really want to get into lower income communities. And everyone needs the support across the board. I mean, there's no discrimination when it comes to postpartum issues. Really what I need is a strong volunteer base because I have been connecting with all the providers. I have been fundraising. I have been doing all the home visits and the new mama meetups. And I have an incredible board who has helped kind of advise me. And I have an incredible team who will do our social media and our newsletter and a little help with fundraising, which is awesome. But I really do need some good volunteers to do some of those new mama meetups, just lead those and start doing some home visits so that we can continue to grow. I really want to get into the Med North clinic and connect with them and the moms that they're working with and eventually get in with providers and, just at least be like, "Hey mom, here's this resource that you can connect with after you have the baby, you know, or while you're pregnant, start going to the new mama meetups." So really want to be able to grow that to reach the end goal would be like every mom that's having a baby and then eventually be able to start chapters in other cities where someone can kind of head it up and connect with providers. And then what I really want to have in Wilmington is a postpartum home where we have like 5 bedrooms, each with their own bathroom. The living room is turned into a newborn nursery staffed with doulas and retired nurses. Kitchen is stocked with food. There's like a great backyard with a pool. And moms can sign up for like 6 to 8 hour increments and just come sleep. Because that's really what we need in those early days is like someone to take care of the baby so we can sleep and feel like mentally stable. And then they can have a place where if they want to hang out with other moms, they can do that. They can be fed and just have this whole home for women who are just in it in those early days. That's the dream. That's the dream.
Hey,
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Have you listened to Emmy Gibson's episode yet?
No.
I highly recommend listening to her and getting connected with her. We can help you with that too, because
Yes.
I think she'd be a good person in that space as well too. Is what's her official very long title again?
I'm not trying to quote that thing. She's, is it considered a startup? No, it's a,
Her position is a new position
Yes.
that was created, but the organization's been around for a while. But very similar, basically trying to reach low income families about just getting started on the right foot, having the right resources for that. Chris will look it up and let us know eventually. But yeah, we'll get you connected with her because I think that would be a great resource. She's already very connected in that space as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think that'd be cool.
That'd be amazing. I'm really excited to see what happens this year, next year, and have I feel like it's hard to have reasonable goals, when you want to do big things. And I'm sure you guys understand, when you want to do something big and you have a vision for, helping the world to start small and slow and just make sense of what you have. I just met with the director of the business center at Cape Fear or something.
Yeah.
And he does some mentoring and he really helped me. Because I was like, what should a second year nonprofit look like? I don't even know,
Right.
And when I don't know what something should look like, I'm like, I need to make steps, And it's not really about what it should look like. It's what can you do with the resources that you have and really put a game plan into place that's going to make sense and, be able to use what you have,
One of my favorite concepts that I always have to remind myself about too, which is similar to what you just said, is people tend to overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year, 5 years, 10 years.
Yes.
And just creating those, exactly what you said, create the small steps to get to the end goal for that year and then the 10th year.
Yep.
Right. So other than building the volunteer base, what would you say is the next goal that you're trying to reach or something that you could ask the community that you need help with?
Yeah, I mean, fundraising is huge. A nonprofit needs their donors. That's how they have money to do their programs.
Right.
And we launched a founding donor campaign. We're looking for 100 founding donors. It starts at $15 a month.
Oh, wow.
And you can be a founding donor. We also have business sponsorship opportunities for the year that give you various levels of marketing. So that's really what we're looking for next so that we can make sure we can continue to fund our programs for our moms and just be able to build that community. So definitely volunteers and fundraising are the two big things for this year to be able to see the growth that we want for sure.
interesting. Have you thought about doing a podcast?
We actually have a fourth trimester podcast with just horror stories or funny stories, just anything related to postpartum. Also educational stuff, having sleep consultants and postpartum doulas and lactation consultants on. But that's just something I got to have people to take some stuff off my plate so I can have time to do a podcast.
Right. We have a studio.
For rent.
Yeah. I mean, the pricing isn't too bad either,
Yeah.
or we can do,
And the
tit for
whiskey's
tat.
not locked up and we don't measure it. So. True.
Oh, perfect. Get a bunch of drunk moms on here.
Yeah. See?
It might be a great podcast.
Gosh. Emmy's title is the HOP'em, Healthy Opportunities Pilot Program Manager.
Okay. That sounds
But
awesome.
she used to do the baby steps. So she was the coordinator for communities and schools of Cape Fear for the young parent support.
Oh, yeah. I think the polar plunge is for communities and schools, isn't it? Y'all? Yeah. I'm doing that on the first.
Good for you. No.
Cold plunges are so good for you. They're so healthy.
I used to do
Face.
I used to do a 5-minute ice cold shower
Yeah.
and that's still not even close to what that is.
Yeah.
And I still can't do that.
I know.
I have the constitution that I could go out and hop in and get up. But the problem is the wading into the water. If it was hopping it, me drop into a pool, get up and get out, I could do it. But you have to, I'm 6 foot something. In order for me to
You're
get
wading a lot.
even wet, I'm going out there.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, I'm excited. Well, we do have a brunch and silent auction at Blue Water on March 25th that is open to anyone. So would love to see you guys there. You can bring your wives.
We can do that.
I can definitely wait. You said March 25th. I will not be there.
What's
Where are you
going on?
gonna be?
It's my anniversary.
Oh,
Oh,
congrats.
that's right, it
That's
is.
exciting.
I pray I'm not in town for that day.
Do a fun weekend away.
That's what my goal is.
I was looking at Pinehurst as like a weekend away, so Tommy could golf and I could do like the spa, but it's like really expensive. I'm like,
Pinehurst
we
gets
could
up
go
there.
up, we could go to the Caribbean.
Right.
So Pinehurst is quite literally like the golfing course there. They host like national competitions.
PGA.
So that's why it's so expensive. But Pinehurst, because my grandma used to live in Southern Pines. And so it's like, well, Southern Pines is right next to Pinehurst and you just like cross over. You're like, it's literally like crossing over like Kerr Avenue in Wilmington.
No way.
Yeah. You're like,
Interesting.
am I still in the same area code? But yes, Pinehurst would be fun. I just don't golf.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that would not be as enjoyable.
Yeah.
Don't spend the money.
Yeah. But I could golf. I haven't done it in my position at work. I would have to have like a stupid early tea time.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to get everyone together and all the guys will go out golfing and Tommy can teach us all how to golf and all of the
Yes.
wives can hang out and do what you all do.
Drink. I'm good.
Yeah,
with that.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to assume.
I mean, I won't assume for all the other women, but you know.
I'm going to drink.
I would say I know Emily and my wife as well too, so they will definitely drink as well.
Perfect. We can all have a good time.
We will imbibe. Oddly enough, we will have Yvonne from Clean Eats on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get Clean Eats to offer like a free meal?
That is, I actually really need to connect with Yvonne to make sure we're still good for next year. She is so incredible and so giving. So a mom that I know, I think from Instagram, was like, hey, you should really connect with her. She does a lot of stuff to give back. So we met at Port City Java one day and they were actually closing for some reason in the morning. It was weird. And we ended up getting in her Jeep and talking and I told her what I was doing. And she was like, yeah, we'd love to offer a family meal, for all the moms that you're going to visit. And I'm like, oh, that's great. Well, she hooked me up with her back of house woman Belinda, who is incredible. She puts together all the meals and I literally just text Belinda and I'm like, hey, I need 5 meals. She's like, okay, I'll have them ready. And I just go pick them up. And I literally haven't talked with Yvonne since March.
They've
But-
had a lot of stuff going on.
Oh my gosh, they give back in so many ways. They are so incredible. And it has just been so nice because from a liability standpoint for us, like they've got all the ingredients on there. I don't have to hand make all the meals,
Right.
So it's just really nice to be able to like pick those up. Here's your freezer meal, do what you want with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great to have. I'm so glad she's coming on.
Yes.
She'll be great.
And that's also my 75 hard kind of meal of choice as well too.
Clean Eats?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that place.
So when I was doing 75 hard, that's where I would
good
get
for you.
90% of my lunches.
Oh yeah.
They're
Fantastic
so
place.
And you were right. They're quite literally one of the, I've been working in Wilmington for years now. So I've had some clients who've shopped with me from my youngin' days up till now. And knowing some people who are they're just really rude because they have money, and other people are like, you wouldn't know they have money because they're actually so nice to people.
Yep.
And her husband are just super nice people. I met them when I worked at Buckle because she was in competitions for bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And she couldn't find clothes to fit just because when you get to that point for competitions, your proportions aren't normal proportions for jeans. And it was just fun trying to she helped me learn stuff that would actually fit different body types.
Yep.
And then now she's just a really fun person to chat with when she comes into the store.
Yeah.
Get at random jewelry.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really don't make clothes. I did a couple bodybuilding competitions back in the day. Just my arms are too tight for certain blouses. I had to rip seams, just
It seems like gym is important for you as well too now.
oh my gosh, it helps me keep my sanity. I do feel like and my therapist was telling me that we do store emotions in our body, and just to have that release, lifting weights, and I've always loved lifting heavy weights, and I feel like it's the best thing for my body composition is just lifting heavy. It just feels so good. Mm-hmm. If I go more than like 3 or 4 days, I'm like, I've got to get a lift in. And my husband knows too. He's like, I will take the kids, you go to the gym, because it helps him too, you know, for me to be stable. And I think everyone should lift. Yes. Everyone.
I'm the same way too. So if I don't get a workout in like a couple days, it completely throws me off. And unfortunately, it took me a long time to figure that out. Mm-hmm. One of the coaches that I have now, at the end of each month, he'll come to you and ask, what's something that you've done this month that has helped you? Like, do more of that. Mm-hmm. What's something that you've done that has been a detriment to you? Do less of that. Mm-hmm. And we did 75 hard, and I was just like on my stride again, like I was last time. And then I got sick and I couldn't work out for a month. I just kept getting sicker and sicker. Yep. And you went through a very similar phase that my family went through as well too. Yes. But after that, I was like, okay, I'm not going to work out for a little bit because I couldn't. And then 2, afterwards, I was like, why am I in this slump? And started working back out again. And I was thinking about my coach because we're going through our thing again. He was like, what's something that you've started doing? What's something that like hurting you? And I was like, you know what? Every time that I'm working out consistently and hard, I feel better. Not like a bullshit, I'm going to go and like lift like a 20-pound weight a couple times. So like, yep, got my 45 minutes in. But like actually lifting heavy and getting that energy out makes such a huge difference for me. It's
so true. I feel like I've been a little bit at like a maintenance standpoint because I don't have any like physical goals right now. Like I'm not powerlifting. I'm not training for any kind of competition. I do want to do a sprint triathlon one day. That's like on my list, but I'm not like swimming, you know, and you don't really need to lift weights for a sprint triathlon.
But you do.
I mean, yes, it's definitely going to help, but I'm also not like road biking around here just scares the crap out of me. So I'm not like doing that. You know, I used to teach spin classes and I feel like I'd be a lot more able to do the try then, but I don't know. So I feel like I'm kind of half-assing my workout right now. But for me, just getting there and doing something helps. Of course, going heavy is like the best thing. But even if I'm just like making the muscles move, it's good.
I'm sure you've heard of the Spartan races before, right?
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of the Spartan Deca?
Okay, so they're doing, I go to O2, and there's some DECA challenge that's up all the time. I have no clue what it is, though.
Oh, okay. So the way that we heard about it was through Essential CrossFit. We had the owner of that on. And so basically what DECA is the race without the running.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So you just do the elements of it. So I was like, that's right down my alley. You tell me to run a 5K and it'll take me forever. But if you just put the weights in front of me and tell me to do some rows and some pull-ups and like muscle ups, like I'll do that all day long.
Yeah.
So the next time one of those comes up, I'll let you know because I plan on preparing for it as well too, along with some other people. Yeah.
That is definitely something I would train for. I won't do more than a 5K. Like I've done some fun runs for a shirt and it takes me like 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
That's a good time. What are you talking about?
Probably closer to 40 minutes, but you know.
30 minutes. I was running 30-minute 5Ks when I was like in 8th grade. So like if I'm not beating that now.
Well, so I'm putting it out there as both we're laughing, but being serious at this time. For people who are actively in shape, 30 plus minute 5Ks is kind of slow. Like when okay,
I see where you're going.
Like my middle of deployment, I ran a 5K in like 22 minutes. Mm-hmm. Was I dying at the end of it? Probably.
Right.
And I was like, why am I going this far?
Yeah.
And then I came back and I just did like maintenance 5Ks. And I would run with my friends because my old unit had like a Dash for Cash up in Greenville. And we would do that every year. And that was just me just like shuffling. I'm like, hey, 33 minutes, let's do this.
Yes.
But like my partner was pushing her kid in a stroller. So I'm like, 33 minutes is a decent click. So everyone has here's a decent spot. So what's our next goal? I'm challenging you to add at least 10 pounds to all your lifts by spring.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. So you got March 22nd. So before your event,
All right.
Remember, he's an elephant. He will remember.
I'm down. I'm down.
Because everyone's like, well, I don't have anything to push me forward. I'm just like maintaining. Well, maintenance is good, but I feel like you always have to have something at least twice a year. You should have something that pushes you forward. So if we don't know when the DECA is, if you add 10 pounds minimum to all of your lifts, that'll be a good step forward.
That won't be hard for my squat because I've not gone super heavy postpartum. Same with bench, but I love deadlifts. And I can't remember if I have only gone to 265 or if I've hit 285 postpartum. I can't remember.
You need to do 300.
Well, my max that I hit, like in my powerlifting days, I did 315. That was before I had kids and wrecked my pelvic floor. But, and I could care less to get that. I mean, like, I do not need to lift over 300 pounds again in my life. I feel good with that. I'll go for 285 because I think I've only gone to 265.
Yeah.
But I could definitely do 285.
I follow this girl on social media. Like I found, like years and years ago when I was on the fitness train and I was back under 250. Oh, so long ago. But she had me laughing because she was working out. And then literally at like 6 months, she found out she was pregnant. And she was like, I just thought I was bloated this whole time.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
jeez.
Like she was that fit. And like it literally went from like you could see like the edge of her abs to like belly bump. She was like, oh shit. But I know now she currently is posting videos of like different workouts for moms who are like, you know, postpartum. These are things you could do to help instead of just like, this is what the guy says. Oh, just do deadlifts. And
Right.
she's like, no. You should try this workout. And I'm like, I feel like there should be more people just because the fitness space is very crowded, but there's still so much space for people to post workouts and help educate in ways to increase your mental and physical health and not just have to be like, go hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like, I feel like switching up your style can help too. Because I know I've gotten in ruts weightlifting and then I've done some CrossFit workouts or, you know, I've done some swimming or I did some, I'll take it. I'll do some, you know, whatever. Just find something that works for you and then do that for as long as you can, you know, whatever it is, just to get your body moving. So important.
So by the time this episode comes out, it'll be 2023. Ooh. And I'm going to steal one of Chris's questions that he started asking people, and I think it'll be a staple. So how do you define success? What does success look like for you?
Oh my gosh, I love this question because I literally had never thought about this until I listened to a training like a month ago. And it was like, what does success look like? Like, what makes you feel successful? And I had never really thought about it. And I'm like, oh, because, you know, you think like making money or, you know, hitting your budget or, you know, buying XYZ is success. But really for me, it's so not that like grandeur, you know? It's like for me, when I cross off my to-dos daily, I feel successful.
Yeah.
Like when I have my schedule and know what I need to do and cross it off, I feel successful. So one of the big things I'm working on right now is attainable goals for Fourth Trimester Mission, my nonprofit, for 2023. What can I do with the resources that we have and help my board, help my volunteers get onboarded and really feel successful with what we're doing with this organization? So I really want to nail those down for next year. And then I also realized that I feel successful when my kids are healthy and my husband is happy. And when I feel that I am like taking care of things in my home and not like neglecting things. So I have this like, I'm going to do this like master list for the house. And I'm going to go through every room and write down all the little projects, whether it's like decluttering a closet or a certain drawer, and have that list. And then when I have 30 minutes or an hour in my day, really attack that list for my home so I can clear some stuff out and have some things functioning smoother in our home. So I know it's not like super exciting things to feel successful, but just understanding what makes me feel successful and then being able to operate within that. So understanding that like I need my schedule for the week. I need to have dedicated times to work, which is hard because I am technically like a stay-at-home mom, you know, and I have babysitters that I use. So making sure I really block my time well to be able to work well, to see fourth trimester mission grow, my hemp wellness business grow, you know, and then also take care of things at my home. So I don't know if that really answered the question.
No, yeah, I think it did. And I think you hit on something really important too for a takeaway for everyone listening as well, is knowing what success is for yourself and knowing what works best for you. Right. There's so much content that's out there right now. People see someone on YouTube or Instagram or on a podcast. They're like, oh, this works for this person. It doesn't necessarily work for you because of your personality or what the case may be. So just finding those things that really help you is really important. I think that is a good sign of success.
And I think just like understanding too, because I'm like not very cognizant of things. I just kind of like tend to gloss over a lot, and going to therapy has really helped me like identify some emotions and things I'm feeling in the moment. Like, when do I feel like a failure, and when do I really struggle? You know, because that's opposite of success, I guess, is, you know, failure. Right. And for me, realizing like I really feel like I'm failing when I feel like things at the house are falling apart, or people who I'm working with don't know what they need to be doing to feel successful. Understanding that to be like, okay, well then this is what makes me feel successful, and this is what I need to do to accomplish this, you know?
Yeah. And I think we'll still stick with our original final question as well too. So if you could tell yourself, your younger self, one thing, what would it be?
You know, but do you listen to your older self when you're younger? I would not change anything about what I did when I was younger. And I think I loved on people well when I was younger, which I think it's always important to be like serving and giving and loving on those around you. I wish I would have listened to my father, and I would tell myself this to save money or look at investments. Like, I wasn't raised to think about investing or having, like, reading Rich Dad Poor Dad like changed my life. And think about having your assets pay for things in your life. And now that I'm on that train, I wish I would have understood that in my early 20s when I was starting my career, and I just threw away paychecks on like
so much money.
I know. Just threw away so much money on stupid stuff. And I could have like 5 investment properties, you know, which hindsight's 2020. And, you know, I probably wouldn't have even listened to myself, you know, then, but I wish, you know, because that's something I do want to work towards, is having those things.
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate it.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Alex, for hopping on here. As per usual, you got anything that you want to shout out?
I mean, you can follow my nonprofit or Fourth Trimester Mission on Instagram and Facebook. I'm LexRich89. I love connecting with anyone and everyone about anything, whether it's fitness or health or just whatever. I love people. I really appreciate you guys having me on. This was fun.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Appreciate your time.
I'm glad you won one of our giveaways.
Yeah, me too.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was with Cass.
Yes.
Yeah, I went in there and I was like, help me dress. And she's like, I was like, I need some staples. And she picked out a sweater and some pants for me, and they just fit perfect, and dropped some dollars in there. Glad awesome. I had a gift card.
I love that place. But yeah, thank you everybody for listening. Just so you know, this week we did sip on the Johnny Walker Green Label. It's the 15 year. It is nice and smooth. One of the few ones I actually spent the whole episode sipping on.
Yeah.
I didn't just like try and get rid of it, but I enjoyed it. You still have that peaty flavor to it.
Yeah, it's not overwhelming like some other scotches though.
No, it was not a heavy peat. How about that? But yeah, thank you everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.